Awesome to have you again here, Jesse. I know today we're going to be talking about one of the hot topics that's going around in all the business community, not only manufacturing, but everywhere, which is AI. Maybe you can give a quick background on your company and what you guys do.
Yeah, so my name's Jesse Jarvie. I work with a company called Radichel. Been working with manufacturers in particular, so I've been around the space for, 15, 20 years. Wow, that's crazy. Working with Radichel, which was formerly Success for the last 4 years. Working to drive IT, cybersecurity, compliance, regulatory, everything else in between to make sure that, quite frankly, they can increase throughput on the shop floor. Make sure people work efficiently.
So you're going to have a fun time talking about AI.
Hey, it's a party.
So the topic was specifically AI-powered efficiency, right? Yep. So the impact on business efficiency using AI. And you know, a lot of people look at, hey, maybe AI is my silver bullet, holy grail. It's going to automatically fix everything. So I want to get into that a little bit. What's the real impact from your standpoint? Like from what you're seeing, what's the true real impact on AI for business efficiency?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a case by case per organization, realistically. But what I typically see and what I've been advising people and what we've been talking about is use AI kind of as your executive assistant, as your intern, if you're in the front office trying to figure out how to make it work, and then leaning into your vendors to see where you can incorporate it throughout what you already have in place. So think like a quality assurance line or something like that. Can it be already implemented with the tools you have? How do you lean into that? So really lean into your partners to increase what you already have and make it better.
Okay, so it's not necessarily going to replace all human workers.
No. Okay. Think of it like an Iron Man suit, more than replacing human workers.
That's actually, so it's more of an augmentation of the skill sets that you have to help people be more efficient. And so from that perspective, okay, how does AI then increase capacity and a boost in efficiency, especially in manufacturing? Is there ways that AI can help identify and mitigate potential maintenance and productivity and bottlenecks and those types of things?
Yeah, for sure. So historically, Radichel and Success, we grew up on something called theory of constraints. Manufacturers, you're all aware of what this is, right? How do we identify the constraints within the system and buffer the capacity? And the way I start to think about it typically, and the way most of my clients work with it, is we got to identify that bottleneck. And you could do that via your standard process, but then start digging into AI in that particular order. How do we alleviate the bottleneck using the tools that are available to us now? And I think one of the common misconceptions out there is AI funnels into automation. I would say start with automation first, and then where logic is needed, then you implement AI.
So is it classic, going back to the lean structure, right? If you're going to do a Kaizen event, you're going to do something else. You start with current state. So you don't just throw AI at something. You actually first use your current state mapping, then you go to future state mapping, maybe even ideal state mapping. Yeah. And then once you're starting to go through the automation, then you apply the AI on top of that. So you still got to go through the same process methodology you would for lean. And it's a matter of using it at the right time.
Yeah, and I think the AI is such a buzzword. Like, it's great. Like, don't get me wrong, there's so many cool aspects of AI. But if you just say, I'm going to throw AI on my shop floor, where do you start? Like, there's no one tool. It's like we are AI for all of manufacturing. That doesn't really work. So we still have to go through the process, do the work, do the homework, find out where it's going to be most impactful, and start somewhere.
Okay.
Is my general thought process.
Okay, cool. And so, you're thinking about the predictive maintenance we've had on the shop floor for a long time, right? Like in machine tools or whatever, they might have used predictive maintenance to understand when I'm going to do that in the future. When you get into the role, like you talked about, let's say you create your list, right? You go through your current, future state. Your gap between those might be your list. You start to prioritize where I'm going to use it. How do you use AI in the role and decision making, right? When you start to talk about things like capacity management, how could I use AI to help adapt that demand, that capacity management as we're going through that from a market condition standpoint?
So again, it kind of depends on what area you're focusing on, but let's just go back to like predictive maintenance, right? So if you're able to implement something, if you're looking at your system today and you're trying to manually look at the system and be like, okay, well, I think this might happen because of this, that's probably going to take you, 2 days of data ingestion. Be like, okay, now I got to build out a program. AI with the pattern recognition that's out there and looking at different indicators, it can go, okay, in seconds, this is going to happen most likely in a month. Do the preventive maintenance work now. and it starts automating that process.
So it'll automate the analysis.
Yes.
But you still need to have your systems to get the raw data.
Yes.
So you have to, again, go back to get the data first and then use it to make analytics on that.
I think one of the most important things behind that, what you just said, is clean data is going to make good results.
Okay.
If you go in with garbage data and you don't clean it and come in with a good database, you're not going to get the results you want.
Okay, so there's some steps to moving into using AI effectively. So if you go back to some of, let's say, the case studies and the things that you've seen, what has been like the successful rollout, the most successful implementations? What's, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about as a business owner, like what's the right steps I would walk through to start to incorporate it more? From your perspective, what would that be?
So, there's a couple ways you could start. So it depends on what area you're in again. So like, I tend to work a lot in the front office work. So trying to figure out, okay, where can I do with marketing? Okay, cool, where can I start? Okay, maybe I don't have the capacity to hire a copywriter. AI can help take that off your plate. So when I think about it like an intern or an unpaid assistant.
Yep.
You want to treat it like a member of your team and treat it nicely. You laugh. There are studies out there, the nicer you are, the nicer it comes back to you, which is an oddity, but it is true. So say things like, please.
This is going to be a whole side topic.
We can get into this. This is Skynet type stuff. We don't need to talk about that right now. But things like treating it like you would treat your employee. You got to train it. You got to make sure it knows what you're talking about, and it has to know your environment. So you have to tell it what you want. If you don't tell it what you want, it's going to give you an answer, but then you're going to be like, well, this thing doesn't work. You got to give clear, defined definition about what you're trying to accomplish. But then when you go onto the shop floor, I'm thinking of an example of a guy I know he acquired the business maybe 5 years ago. 40% turnover. COVID was a heck of a time. And he needed to figure out how to expand his market base. So he had long-term legacy clients, and some of them even left. So not only did he have 40% turnover of staff, but also 40% turnover of clients. So what he did is he used AI within his quality systems to make sure the quality was unmatched, first and foremost. And what that did was able to help him on his pricing. And what he did then was he was able to identify other opportunities outside of his typical market base. So he expanded globally. And now he was able to identify different areas that, hey, this trend in this space, I can attack that. So he was able to expand into that space. So like those type of things, like there's a lot of work in between there, not just AI, there was automation, there was manual work, a lot of pieces.
Data.
But it's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool.
And it was a strong tool to allow him to do all that in chaos.
Got it. So part of that goes back to, as you're giving these examples, again, there's some series of steps, right? You got to, there's a process documentation, there's the data documentation, there's having the right people that you're working with that are going to then train the AI. And like in our case, we'll do the same, like copywriting you talked about earlier. Well, voice is always a big challenge with most organizations. So can I take 100 of the president's emails and create the AI bot of the president's voice, and then I don't have to worry about that? Like there's those types of things that allow that to be successful. But you need all of them. You need the people, you need the process, you need the data.
Yeah.
And so it's not just a matter of, I'm going to flip a switch. So are there other, let's say inside of that, the community, you talked about a few. Are there other key areas that you would typically gravitate to using AI, or the ones that jump to the top of the list that people tend to gravitate to right away?
So, the lowest point of entry is probably using some of the tools you already got. So if you already have like Microsoft, you can pay for a Microsoft Copilot license. There's a free version. You can go to ChatGPT, or you can go to the paid version. If you're going to have your team playing in it, get them the paid version. That protects your data. I think that's the part that needs to come into play here too, because if you're just throwing all your proprietary information out into the world on ChatGPT, unprotected, behind a password, and you're not paying for it, that is now training their model.
Yep.
Be very cognizant of that. Pay for your people to play with it. Pay for the license, pay for the Copilot license, pay for the $20 a month ChatGPT license, whatever. If they're going to be using your data, make sure it's protected behind what you're paying for.
Okay.
So that's probably the lowest barrier to entry. But then have your team working on it. You should not own the whole process, because there's going to be more ideas that one person can't come up with. So empower champions within each department. Think a sales or marketing guy, or a finance person, or whoever, okay, how can this impact your particular role? And then that's just going to come up with more and more use cases. And then you can be like, okay, is there a bigger picture solution to this? Like, does this need to go into ERP? ERP, everybody has AI in their system now. So if it needs to go ERP or NetSuite or whatever, okay, can this actually accomplish 60% of these? And then that's a quick ROI instead of having to do it one-off individual.
Got it.
So start small, figure out the main use cases, and then build it into what you might already have.
Okay, that's actually really helpful in terms of where to get started. So invariably the use cases or the processes that are the most often used, especially that are very manual at this point, would be the place to start.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were looking at, is there any other examples that we might want to speak to? Again, thinking about you're an executive, I'm trying to think my areas. Is there any other key areas?
Well, I'm even thinking of an example with a client of ours where they're like, we need AI behind this piece. And you don't always need it. And I'm not trying to talk people out of AI, but things like payroll processing. We were able to create a Power App to manage this where they were spending 14 hours a week down to about 2 just via automation. And then if it gets more complex, then you can put a logic behind it to help direct it. So again, I think the biggest examples that I see aren't always throw AI at it. It's, okay, where do we step back? Okay, what do we already have? And then build it out from there.
Got it.
Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, that helps. Is there anything else that maybe we haven't talked about yet? If you're specifically talking to those executives, the common things that come up, the pain points, the questions, the frustrations, like what else would you want to make sure that someone knew as they start to dig into this topic?
I would say lean into your networks and figure out what others are doing as well. Because this is uncharted territory a little bit. We're all kind of figuring this out as we're going. Like we're hosting Microsoft Copilot peer groups. We're trying to create a community around this. Like lean into your network, lean into your partners. Do not assume you're the only one doing this, but also assume everybody else is. Because if you're not, and they are, they got unpaid help that you don't have.
Right.
And they're going to ramp past you. So lean into it as much as you can. Find the resources that are doing it and doing it well. Because there's such a great community, especially like different manufacturing support groups. There's hundreds of them, right? So lean into the people that know who they're with and who can connect you with someone working on the exact same problem as you. Because I guarantee you somebody is. Somebody's doing the same thing and hitting their head against the wall trying to figure out how to solve that. Lean into that network. That's kind of my best advice, because not one person is going to solve all of it.
Got it.
So that's kind of my general advice.
Oh, that's good. And so I appreciate also the experiences that you've been going through. So knowing this topic and kind of working through this topic, obviously if anybody has any questions, they can reach out. Our contact information will be part of that. And again, the encouragement is for them to go and find the support staff, because it's also something I think, as people know in the AI world, like we've got team members that are going through getting their master's programs in some of this, right? And every 2 months, you basically have doubled the technology, and
gosh.
so basically the coursework is always in flux. You start out with a curriculum and you end with something different kind of mindset.
Well, I'll even segue to this point where I know a couple people that were building out their own AI system, right? Their own AI bots, their own AI language, and they got leapfrogged.
Because it was changing so fast.
It changed so fast that all this work they put into it, they had to audit. Like they couldn't do it. They got to audible and do something completely different. Because they can't keep up either. So it's changing so fast and so impactfully that you just need to know. You can't know everything. Like it's impossible. To your point, everything's always going to be a moving target on this. So I wouldn't say lean into one catch-all solution is going to solve everything for you. Just keep abreast of the right people that are looking at this, and stay in touch with people. Keep the communication going. Don't give up right away if you don't think it's impactful. It will be eventually, I promise.
Well, then we'll just leave it. So if anybody has any questions or comments or concerns, to reach out.
Yeah.
And again, thank you for joining in on the call today and working through this, because it is a hot button topic right now and everybody is talking about it, but it's great to have you here.
And I will say, if even we don't have the perfect solution for you right away, our goal is to find the right person to help. So we keep a pretty broad network of all this stuff, so we can point you in the right direction, even if it's not with our team. Appreciate the conversations all the same.
Sounds good, man. It's good
Awesome.
to see you again.
Good to see you.
All right, have a blessed day.
All right.
Thank you.